Many of those who sustained such severe injuries that they didn't even seek medical attention at a hospital. They personally extracted the shrapnel from their own bodies. On the spot, those who were helping immediately rushed to assist. But the enemy kept threatening and didn't allow any opportunity. Reconnaissance drones, scout drones were hovering, making it impossible for anyone to approach. This is a regular cafe where people gathered for a New Year's celebration. There were more than 100 of them there. Most of them were on a guest list. Those who actually survived, they naturally possessed their documents. These were people, well, in their middle years. There were many young people around 20 to 25 years old. They also sustained injuries. Many of those who sustained such severe injuries that they didn't even seek medical attention at a hospital. They personally extracted the shrapnel from their own bodies. On the spot, those who were helping immediately rushed to assist. But the enemy kept threatening and didn't allow any opportunity. Reconnaissance drones, scout drones were hovering, making it impossible for anyone to approach to provide assistance to those who were still remaining there, although the fire was so intense that it was already impossible to enter. Well, so these were many different kinds of people. These were folks who perhaps had traveled to visit family or friends. This is southern Russia, a very warm and pleasant region. They had come to check on loved ones and went there with their children to have some fun around the festive Christmas tree. Every single person who was present there, these are individuals who possessed no connection to any military profession. And incidentally, the very owner of this cafe also sustained severe shrapnel wounds with penetration into her chest cavity. Luckily, she survived. The people were burned, and clearly this was caused not only by the fire from the building structures, but also by an incendiary munition that flew in after striking with shrapnel those who were inside. This is just an ordinary cafe, to be perfectly honest, the most typical one you'd find in a small resort town right by the hotel. And all the people who were there just a little while before, just before the clock struck midnight, it seems during our president's address, precisely such a terrible terrorist act was committed. The time was very deliberately chosen when the entire world, the one that is celebrating New Year's, precisely at midnight, exactly 12 a.m., according to our time zone, essentially everyone is congratulating each other and listening to all the festive greetings. It was precisely at this time that the strike was launched to lull vigilance and somehow slip past the observation posts. And from the sea, evidently, these drones approached from the Black Sea and thus delivered the strike. They had apparently been hovering in the air for a long time, but they struck precisely 5 minutes before the new year. The biggest problem here, which arose there, was that people who were nearby, those who were standing on the street at that time, fortunately, were not inside. They were just heading into the cafe. They immediately rushed to help. But right after the first a second, then after drone arrived, and in the first few minutes, those who were nearby provided assistance. The Ministry of Emergency Situations arrived at the scene immediately after 20 to 30 minutes. But there was such a fierce fire, they fought it until almost daylight, because at night it was hard to see, and only in the morning could they enter the area. What we now see in the footage, no longer rescuers, but investigators and those identifying what occurred there. But all in all, the Ministry of Emergency Situations and the special units that arrived on the scene, they responded quite promptly, and for that they deserve a huge thank you, because if they hadn't begun to extinguish the fire promptly and evacuate those who were present, it's possible the situation would have been considerably more challenging. After The fire that had raged for over 6 hours was finally extinguished per pause, and once it was possible to enter the remains of that destroyed cafe and the partially damaged hotel, the investigative committee began its work, including the identification of bodies of the remaining burnt victims, and by investigating the circumstances surrounding how and with what kind of ammunition the damage was inflicted on a purely civilian facility, which is absolutely not connected to any military operations nor to anyone else. They are now trying to claim that supposedly it was that they were military personnel. But if you consider as military personnel young children and those children who are currently among the victims, Crimea has now started helping us because seriously ill patients are being transported to the Crimean Republican Clinical Hospital. And among them are children, teenagers born in 2008 or 2007. It was just a regular holiday evening, and the enemy quite simply is attempting to disrupt the peaceful existence of our citizens in this way to demonstrate that true peace will not be achieved for a very long time. So they are clearly acting against the aspirations of both our president and the president of the United States, who are saying and doing absolutely everything to bring about a peaceful resolution, a peace agreement. But apparently the Kyiv regime does not want this, thus revealing its true savage natures. No matter what actions they might try to take, the Russian soldier and the Russian engineer, who is currently and precisely focused on actively countering these very specific kinds of strikes, it is absolutely impossible to ever defeat them. So no matter what kind of help they receive, the objectives of the special military operation will still be accomplished, and these kinds of attacks on the civilian population, cruel, brutally bloody, they further strengthen our warriors' resolve in their actions, which will put an end to such state-sponsored terrorism. It's unclear why Western leaders ignore this point and refuse to see it. Perhaps they're watching something else entirely. But what's staring them in the face, they're probably afraid to see.
Images released by Saldo's press service showed charred ruins, scorched walls, and bodies covered with sheets amid the rubble. Ukraine's military has not responded to the allegations yet, but Moscow wasted no time assigning blame. Russia's foreign ministry called the strike a deliberate terrorist attack, accusing Ukraine of intentionally targeting civilians gathered for New Year's Eve. The ministry said there was no doubt the attack had been planned in advance, labeling it a war crime. Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova went further, saying Ukraine's Western backers were ultimately responsible. Senior Russian politicians, including the speakers of both houses of parliament, issued statements condemning Kyiv. Saldo compared the incident to the 2014 Odessa trade union's house fire, one of the most controversial and painful episodes of the post-Maidan period, when dozens died in a blaze during violent clashes. The comparison underscores how emotionally charged this incident has become inside Russia. Kherson is one of 4 Ukrainian regions Russia claimed in 2022 through referendums widely rejected as illegal by most Western nations. Fighting and drone attacks have continued across these territories as the war grinds on. The strike in Khorly comes amid rising tensions. Just days earlier, Moscow accused Kyiv of a failed drone attack targeting a residence linked to Russian President Vladimir Putin in Novgorod region. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov described that incident as an act of state terrorism. The Kremlin has since claimed the latest attack was aimed not only at civilians, but also at undermining international efforts toward a negotiated settlement, including initiatives supported by US President Donald Trump. For now, investigations continue. Facts remain disputed, and verification is limited. But as dawn broke over Khorly, Russian officials say the new year began not with hope, but with fire, loss, and unanswered questions.